Story time about how my husband's trying to convince me to become an escort. Disclaimers, now my story time is sending me on Instagram. My husband and I have been married for almost 6 years. We did get separated for 2 years, so technically we've been together for around 4 years. We had separated during COVID mainly because he doesn't want to have kids, and I desperately want to have children. And yes, when we got married, we did talk about having kids, and he said he wasn't sure. But after we got married, he basically told me that he did not want to have kids, which is obviously something that I did not sign up for when I married him. I began to resent him a lot because I could have been with somebody else, someone who wanted to have kids. But instead, I spent years with him only to find out that he did not want to have kids. I ended up asking him for a break, and that was basically during COVID. So we were basically broken up for all of 2020. This is where I'm assuming he started getting his ideas. We finally got back together in 2021. I had gone on a couple of dates with some really terrible guys, and I basically thought to myself, well, you know, my husband's not like that, so I guess I should get back with him. As soon as we moved in together, he started talking about escorts. He told me one of his friends uses an escort service, and he thought it might be a good idea to start one. Part 2 is up. Story time about how my husband's trying to convince me to become an escort. Disclaimers, now my story time is sending me on Instagram. After he told me he was thinking about starting his own escort agency, I completely lost it. First off, I didn't want my husband to be involved in that, and secondly, I just think it would bring so many problems. He told me that we should just think about it, and I asked him to show me numbers. You know, how much do people make? And he didn't know anything about it. He had done zero research. After that, we didn't speak about it for a few weeks. Not until he asked me what I thought about being an escort. At first, I was confused, like, me being an escort? Or what I thought about escorts being escorts. I told him escorts can do anything they want, as long as they're safe and happy. Then he said, well, we should look into you becoming an escort. I started to laugh and he's like, no, I'm serious. And that's when it hit me. This whole time he was trying to convince me to become an escort? His own wife? What does that say about us? What does that say about the relationship and how he feels about me? So I turned it around and told him that he should become an escort. Then he said, I'm not as good looking as you, so I wouldn't make enough money. That's when he confessed that he had signed me up to 2 different escort websites. And he had conversations with guys pretending to be me. Part 3 is up. Story time about how my husband's trying to get me to become an escort. That's when he confessed that he had already signed me up to several escort websites and that he had been having conversations with different men pretending to be me. Then he pulls out his phone and shows me all the conversations. Most of the men were trying to make me their sugar babies and were offering me upwards of $5,000 a month just to go on dates with them. The look in my husband's face was of excitement and happiness. I was mortified. I couldn't believe that my husband was even entertaining the idea. After he finishes showing me all of the messages between him and these other men, he tells me that we could be earning about $22,000 a month, and all I'd have to do is just go on dates with these guys. I started to cry and he told me that I was overreacting, and that most women would kill to be in my place. I told him these men would expect much more than just going on dates, and he swears up and down that they won't. Now the thing is, we have had money trouble, so I see where he's coming from, but I just don't know. He's still trying to convince me, and he shows me messages from these guys every single day. Most of these men are in their 50s, and one of these guys was actually really attractive. The money sounds so good, but I don't know what to do. I feel like I would resent my husband eventually. I mean, what if I fall in love with one of them? What should I do?
Am I the asshole for taking my wife's side after she screamed and cursed at my mom? I, 33 male, am married to my wonderful wife, Melody, 29 female. She is currently pregnant with our first child together. I also have a 6-year-old daughter, Tina, whose mother I split 50-50 custody with. So I know what Melody needs in order to feel supported while she carries our child. I've been spending a lot of time making sure she's comfortable and taking on more of the load at home so she's not doing too much. My mother and Melody don't get along, and my mom didn't like my ex either. She's very nitpicky about Melody and how much she does around the house and how emotional she is. The fact that she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, and it just seems like nothing Melody does is okay. Am I the asshole for taking my wife's side after she screamed and cursed at my mom? I stand up for her and do not just allow my mom to talk down on her. Today, before picking up my daughter from summer camp, Melody went to 3 different grocery stores to find rotisserie chicken. She's been talking about it since last night and really wanted one. She sent me picture messages documenting her quest for the chicken and finally found it. My girl was happy. She was planning on serving that with some other basic sides for dinner, which is perfectly fine by me. My mom came by to see Tina and started telling Melody the chicken is bad for her and she shouldn't be eating that pregnant. Melody says she usually eats healthy and just wants one thing she's craving. Am I the asshole for taking my wife's side after she screamed and cursed at my mother? My mom went on about how unhealthy it was and said she needs to eat something else. Melody said no and went to the backyard to FaceTime her family out of state. When she came back, my mom had thrown out the food and ordered takeout. A salad for Melody and pizza for everyone else. My mother told her she needs to start being a responsible mother and eat correctly for the baby. Melody screamed, "What the F is wrong with you? Why are you always such a bitch to me?" She then cried and called me home. After hearing the story, I told my mom to leave and not to come back until she apologizes. Then my mom said I'm choosing another woman over her.
My girlfriend's 28 female brother donated his heart to me, 27 male, and we didn't find out until recently. This happened when I was 18 and in need of a heart transplant, waiting on a list. We were waiting for months. Then, just like that, we got a call and it changed my life. I was so grateful to the donor. My mom and I even made our own letters to send to the family, but they never wanted contact, which I respected. He saved my life. Yeah, but theirs was all heartbreak. For years, I was always grateful for that sacrifice, but even more now that my girlfriend and I met years later, and now we're expecting a baby boy in August. Also, because we know the whole truth now, she never talked about her brother much, so all I knew was that he died. His birthday was the other week. My girl wanted to visit his grave because they hadn't done it in a while. She opened up about his car accident, being on life support until they decided to take him off. And since he was registered as an organ donor, that isn't what got me thinking though. What did was the fact that the exact date of his death is when I got called in for the heart transplant. Me and my girlfriend decided to find out the truth because her family was grieving so much, they never looked at the letter sent by me. We had a long talk with her mom about this because if she'd rather not know, then we'll drop it. Her mom gave us her blessing to find out. Luckily, she never got rid of the letter, only never got around to reading it because it was too painful. And that's how we found out. It was only my first name that I mentioned, but I remember every word I said on that letter. We cried for hours. All this time, life brought us together in this crazy way, and neither of us knew. He gave me a chance to be alive and meet the love of my life and start a family with her. I feel like the luckiest guy in the world, all thanks to him.
That's so beautiful.
So sad, but life is fucking weird. And so sad, but at least
it's like a full circle moment.
I know.
Yeah.
And they're having a baby boy. Fuck. I'm looking to see if they say how they met, and OP does comment a lot. But I don't see anyone asking and him responding how they met. Am I the asshole for making my son shower at school?
Saves water. Come on.
My son is in the 6th grade, and showering is not a big deal to him anymore. To make matters worse, he has sports after school, which is at his school. So when I pick him up, he stinks. He will promise to shower, but doesn't do a good enough job. Yesterday, I went to pick him up and handed him a bag with shampoo, body wash, clean clothes, and deodorant. He asked me what that was for, and I said he's going to take a shower in the boys' locker room. There were a few older kids in there who shower. He refused, and I said he's not coming home until he does. He said he'd take one at home, and I said nope. I also told him to not bother calling his mom. He did shower and was fresh and clean, but had tears in his eyes. I told him when I dropped him off that he either showers at home or at school, and I'll always have a change bag for this with me. His mom says the whole thing is a waste of time. Edit, he can, but won't shower at home, and very well when he does. He's not being prevented from showering at home.
That guy's a fucking dick.
Too far.
Story time about when I messed up going on a date with a girl from Tinder who seemed way too good to be true and not seeing the red flags. I, 23 male, was talking to this girl, 23 female, for a week on Tinder and Instagram. She was gorgeous and she seemed very fun and outgoing, but she did have an investment girl boss vibe to her, and that's okay, but I should have seen it coming. We meet up and she looks good, but not exactly like her photos. No problem there, let's see if we connect, I thought. The first 10 minutes goes great. Conversation is flowing and I ask her if she wants some coffee. After all, we're at a coffee shop on a coffee date. She says no because she had some earlier. First red flag. I mean, who goes on a coffee date but drinks some just before the actual date? A tells me to go and get one for myself if I want. Alright, no problem. I go and get my coffee, and when I come back, there's another girl at our table. She says, hey, this is my partner. We'll call her B. I was working with her earlier. That's when it hit me that this wasn't a date. B starts asking me questions about my job, my studies, and asked me if I would listen to their business plan so that I could make more money each month. So she takes out a notepad and starts explaining to me their business model and how much money I would make if I find 3 other persons who would find 3 other people for themselves, etc., etc. I straight up tell her, so this is like a pyramid scheme, right? This ain't no date? To which A responds, oh, it is a date, but you seem like a cool person to become our partner. LOL, what? And this isn't a pyramid scheme, it's multi-level marketing, MLM. Okay, so exactly the same thing. I couldn't believe that this was happening to me. Oh boy. So I sat there for legit 15 more minutes and listened to them explain to me how I could make about $5,000 a month if I were to get 100 people to join this business. I told them that I had to leave to go to the vet with my dog. They didn't seem happy that I wasn't interested in their MLM. I laughed so much on my way home that I was crying.
Am I the asshole for snitching on a teenager? Yesterday, I, 41 female, went grocery shopping with my daughter-in-law, 20 female. When we left the store, we saw a teenage boy scrape down the entire side of another car as he was pulling out. I'm not talking a light scratch either. This was like thousands of dollars in damage. Anyway, the kid started trying to pull away and my daughter-in-law yelled at him through his window. She screamed, "Grow a pair, at least leave a damn note." The kid argued with her, so while he was sitting there, I wrote down his license plate number and the one of the car that he hit. After a bit of arguing back and forth, he just took off. So I went inside, told the manager, and gave him the license plate numbers. Later that night, I told my husband what happened and he got mad at me and called me a snitch. He said that I probably got that kid in a lot of trouble and the nicer car probably had insurance. So there was no point of reporting it. Am I the asshole?